Hey everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show, and am I happy about this? And I know this is old. I know this is going to completely throw off any connection to the algorithm that I have. Not that I pay much attention to that anyway. And I know that there's probably going to be like 5 people that care about this. But I don't care about that because this is fantastic. This is Jareth from Jim Henson's Labyrinth, and Labyrinth is one of my top 5 movies of all time. And I knew McFarlane had made figures for that movie. I forget how many he made. He may have just made 2 of Jareth, and I had never seen them. But this past weekend, I was at my comic shop, and my guy was cleaning out the back room, and he pulled this out. And he was like, yeah, I had this sitting in the back. It was collecting dust. I said, how much do you want for it? He gave me like 20. He said, it's like $20 and I'll give you 25% off. I was like, sold. This is great. If you don't know what Labyrinth is, it is one of Jim Henson's cinema movies about a girl who has their kid brother kidnapped by the Goblin King. And of course, the Goblin King is played by none other than David Bowie himself. And it was Jennifer Connelly, it was Jim Henson, it was fantasy adventure, it was Bowie, it was quintessentially 80s in every way, shape, or form. And when I finally found this figure, and I got it, like I said, at 25% off, $20, oh, I'm excited. Oh, I'm so happy about this. Because there's another one that they have of him. This is his ballroom dance number, his ballroom dance costume, which we'll see once we get it out. Whoops. There is another one that is more him just hanging out in the castle with the goblins. And I've seen that one, but that one is going for like around $100, which is kind of ridiculous. But I got this, and I'm loving this, and I'm hoping this is going to scale up with some of the other McFarlane figures that I have, because this will be a great addition to the 7-inch fantasy line that I'm kind of building out right now. So, getting a load of this, like I said, this is old. I think this is from 2017, and so we have a very different packaging look going on for McFarlane's figure. It's very minimalist, very thin too. To be honest, I kind of like this packaging better. That I kind of wish he would go back to something small and compact like this, because it's predominantly window, just has Labyrinth across the top, Jareth the Goblin King down here across the bottom. And like I said, just big window up top to let the light shine down through, window on the side, Labyrinth, window on the side, Labyrinth, and then some glamour shots of the figure on back, along with him on his stand, him with his goblin mask on, and him with his accessories. And just on the bottom is the bottom. And I really like this packaging. And I know with like the DC Multiverse, they're going back to just like one big glamour shot on the back. But I kind of like how compact this is. I'm hoping this is going to be 7 inches, but we will see what it comes out to. And also, because of how intricate this sculpt is, which I can't wait to take a look at that either, I'm really curious to see what the articulation is going to be like. So without further ado, let's just dance magic dance and get Jareth out of his box. Okay, here he is, Jareth the Goblin King, out of his box, and putting the tape measure to him, we can see that he comes in at 7.5 inches tall to the top of his big, big hair. Okay, now bringing him up closer, we can see that McFarlane did a fantastic job on the sculpt. I know I've been talking a lot about the face portraits of the McFarlane figures in the last couple reviews between Blackest Night and the Crime Syndicate wave, but this is just so absolutely a likeness of David Bowie, complete with eyeshadow and belittling stare. This is great. This is some great work right in here, and I absolutely love that Ziggy Stardust himself has been immortalized like this. All right, and then we get down to the body, and there is some great detail work in just the luxuriousness, the overindulgence of this whole suit jacket going on that he has right here. And then the gold inlay on the cuffs and the belts and like the lapels. Everything is fantastic. Even on the back, look at that. That is just rock star right there. That is just absolute rock star. And the color too, this metallic blue coming through on his coat and his coat tails, and then just tapering down to this matte black, and then a shiny black for his boots. The sculpt work on this is really, really well done. The coloring on this is really, really well done. Look at the high collar. Look at all of this. Look at the detail work in his, I don't even know what you call this right here, his scarf? I don't know. But this looks fantastic. One thing that I was very surprised about, for as hard and unforgiving as all of this is, because none of this really bends. And as a matter of fact, even the coat lapels, if I bend them too much, I feel they're going to break. And this has no give to it whatsoever. So what I was very surprised about was the hair is so rubbery and flexible that going into the articulation, we can actually get some side-to-side tilt. He can't do a full 360 turn because the hair does get caught on the collar of his coat, but he can get some head movement out of it. He can look up. He can look down. So there is some mobility to the head that I thought this was all going to be very brittle and frail, and I thought it was going to break if you tried to move it too much. But even just look at the detail on the hair, the wash on the hair, how it comes over the collar on some areas, tucks in on others. I'm actually very interested to do a side-by-side comparison between this and a movie still, just to see how dead on this actually is. Now, the head is fine. The head does not come off. It doesn't pop off, and I wasn't going to try because I'm worried that I might break it. But, yeah, because it just has a big neck joint up in there that I think the whole head just sort of pops onto. Kind of like Playmates with their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, how the whole head just sort of pops on right onto the neck. The arms. That's it for the arms. They don't come up all the way. There is no butterfly joint. They can do a full 360 spin, however. There is no bicep swivel, although there is a hinge and swivel at the elbow. So you have a single hinge elbow with swivel at the elbow, and it doesn't even come up fully to 90. Nothing in this section where the cuffs are, but here at the hand, it'll do a swivel, and he can come in and out. And even then, they had the ability to do the swivel hinge swivel, although the cuffs do limit it, that it can go up and down, or you can reposition it so that it goes in and out. So I was kind of impressed that even back then he was using these kind of wrist joints. All right, the torso, dead. Nothing going on down here. This is all completely dead in here. There's no torso twist, there's no ab crunch, there's no nothing. Like, yeah, it almost feels like there should be a torso twist, but I can't get enough of a grip on it underneath the coat to be able to do it because the coat is so tight and form-fitting to the rest of the figure. There is no kick to the legs. They don't come forward, they don't come back. About the only thing they do is they swivel. And the reason they swivel is because they're just on a ball joint that goes up into the hip piece right here. And the only reason I found out about this is because I popped it out of the ball joint when I was trying to get the legs to kick forward. Now, the thing that amuses me is that even the legs don't kick forward, and as I showed you, this is a very stiff piece for the coat. He does have single jointed knees with a hinge and swivel at the knee. So I'm guessing these legs might have been used someplace else. I'm guessing these legs might have been used on the other Jareth figure, which means that figure, if that's true, doesn't have a kick out either. And then he has toes rock back, toes do not rock forward, they pivot, but there's no ankle rock. But then again, why would you need ankle rock if the legs can't go out? Now, I don't know how well it's showing up on the camera, but his feet, his legs seem to be a little, I don't know, off. Like, one seems like it might be longer than the other one. Also, the ankles don't really set right, and it even looks like one boot is bigger than the other one. So it does cause problems if you're trying to stand Jareth up without the benefit of his stand, especially with not having any leg movement at all. The only articulation you're getting is out of the knees and the little bit out of the ankles. You can do it, and this little bit actually does tend to weigh it back some, but you can do it. You just have to play around with it for a while. For accessories, Jareth comes with his Goblin mask for the Masquerade Ball, and this is actually really well sculpted, and I really, really like this. I like the coloring to it. I like the detail work to it. I think this looks fantastic. The other thing that I really like is that these are soft rubber, so that the Goblin mask won't break. However, the crop, the handle, it's not a stiff plastic, but it's stiffer. Well, no, I guess it is. It's a stiff plastic, so that he can hold it properly. It just slips right into his hand, like so. And then positioning it, get that to turn up and down. Getting it to position over his face is a bit of a trick. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you can do it. I'm going to have to take a look at that and see how they did it on the back of the box. Another accessory that he comes with is going to be hard to show up on camera is just this sphere. This translucent, transparent sphere, which is supposed to represent the crystals that he juggled through the whole movie. And you can see that this hand is poised specifically to hold this, but the problem is that the fingers are very rubbery. And so it'll sit up on his fingertips. Oh, look at how it's like reflecting it's refracting the mask and the sphere. That is really cool. So it will sit up on his fingertips, but he won't have a solid grip on it. But truthfully, that's the way it's supposed to be, because he was always like rolling them around on his fingertips, juggling them back and forth. So the fact that he's not holding it deep into his hand, I don't have a problem with that. Just be aware that it's not going to be seated in there, so it can easily fall out. And then finally, we have his figure stand that I absolutely love the look of his figure stand. This was before he just started going to the black round discs that we all know and love for the more modern figures. This is a display stand. You can see how it kind of has steps going up to it, like he's up on a pedestal. David Bowie up on a pedestal. Go figure. Jim Henson's Labyrinth up front. You have two pegs. You have this sort of stone textured top to it. On the back, just flat. On the back, just flat. Hollow on the inside. So you can kind of put the figure on there, and you could put him all the way back against the shelf, and it would be able to sit flat. And now for size comparison, here Jareth is with some figures from my Witcher collection, because truthfully, that's probably the shelf he's going to be hanging out on the most. We have Arid Brioc Glass from The Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt, and Jaskier from the Netflix Witcher series. And now a few more figures from the Witcher line. Here is Geralt of Rivia himself and Ciri, just so that I can see how he measures up with the full set that I have. Here he is beside NECA Toys, Defenders of the Earth, Ming the Merciless, and Flash Gordon. Here he is beside NECA Toys Ultimate Pinhead and McFarlane Toys Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn. Here he is beside Hasbro Marvel Legends Captain Marvel and Binary. Here he is beside Lanyard Toys City Hunter Predator and Xenomorph Drone. And finally, as always, here he is beside Jazzware's Spartan Collection Master Chief and Noble 6. I hope you enjoyed this short look at Jareth the Goblin King from Jim Henson's The Labyrinth. And it was a short look because, truthfully, other than the sculpt, there wasn't a whole lot to look at. The articulation was very limited, and that does serve as a reminder that I know we, as a community, on occasion, complain about the lack of articulation, or maybe not the lack of articulation, but the quality of articulation on McFarlane's figures. Well, this is proof that it could be much, much worse. So, and we do have to give it to them that they are improving. McFarlane Toys is improving with the articulation, especially looking at this figure and looking at where they came from. No hip movement at all, no torso movement, no ab crunch, no nothing. Yikes. Just some ankles and movement in the arms and the head. Yeah, the knees move, but they don't do anything. Because if the hips don't have any movement to them, there's no point in the knees having movement to them. A couple of other things that were just a little bit of a disappointment with this figure. The mask itself doesn't exactly sit in front of Jareth's face. I kind of pulled it off with some forced perspective photography, but upon looking on the back of the box further, that's how they did it too. He didn't actually have it up to his face. And second, as much as I love that translucent, that transparent sphere to be one of the crystal spheres that he was playing around with, yeah, that thing kept falling out of his hands while I was posing him. I have a bad feeling I'm going to lose that thing. I do really like this figure though, and I'm glad I got him. I'm not sure I would pay the exorbitant prices that are on the internet, and really I think the only reason they're charging that much on the internet, like $100 and up, is because they're kind of rare, they're hard to come by. But as far as the quality goes, sculpt-wise, sure, I think this is a great likeness of David Bowie. Articulation, action figure, playability, nah. Like, I would have gladly paid 20 bucks for this, but I'm really glad I paid less than 20 bucks for this. I do think he's going to look great mixed in with my Witcher figures, and then maybe even NECA's D&D figures when they finally ship and we get them. Like if we get Avenger and we put him next to Venger, oh, that's going to be great. There's even some goblins with the D&D line that I can get him some minions. Like I said, just a quick look. Wanted to drop this on Sunday. I know it's not going to get much traction. This was more for me than anybody else, but I do hope you enjoyed it. We have more coming down the line this week. Plus, at the end of September, we'll be going back to RetroCon. So until that happens, my friends, play well, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.